Our focus is going to be on continuing work with dividing decimals by whole digit numbers. And we're going to look specifically on how to divide decimals by a two-digit whole number by using the standard algorithm. So the first problem that we're going to take a look at is this one. So Stan has a rectangular piece of carpet with an area of 23 and 4 feet squared. The piece of carpet is 13 feet long. What is the width of the piece of carpet? So I've drawn a diagram to kind of model that situation that we're going to do. And so the first step we're going to do is we're going to put this into a division problem. So my dividend is going to be the area because I'm looking for a side length. So if I write this as a equation, what it's going to be is 23.4 feet squared. Because remember, our formula for area is area equals length times width. Well, we know what the area is. It's 23.4 feet squared. And so that's my area equals 13W. So to find my answer of 23 and 4 feet squared, and to find the value of W, I'm actually going to divide. So 23.4 is going to be my dividend, and 13 is going to be my divisor. So when we take a look at this, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move that decimal up, and then we don't have to worry about the decimal anymore. I look at how many times 13 can go into 23. 13 goes into 23 one time. I write 13 underneath because I multiply 13 times 1, write it underneath 23, and then I'm going to subtract. So 23 subtract 13 is going to be 10. The next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the 4, and I'm going to look at how many times 13 can go into 104. And so I'm just going to choose a value. It's not too far away from 130, which is what 13 times 10 is. So I'm going to do 13 times 8 and see what I get. So 8 times 3 is going to be 24. I'm going to regroup the 2. 8 times 1 is 1 plus 2 is 10. So I get 104. So 8 is going to go above the 4. My next step is going to be to do 13 multiplied by 8. I get 104. I'm going to subtract, and then I have 0 left over. So W is going to equal 1.8 feet. It's not feet squared because I'm finding side length instead of finding the area. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the next problem. So the next problem that we are going to take a look at is going to be, it says Aaron's garden has an area of 84.8 feet, 8 square feet. She knows the length is 16 feet. What is the width of Aaron's garden? How can you solve 84 and 8/10 divided by 16 equals W? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 84 and 8/10 by 16. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the decimal and I'm going to bring it straight up so I don't have to worry about it anymore. And so when I bring it straight up, I need to look at how many times 16 is going to go into 84. Well, I know that 16 times 4 is equal to 64. So I'm going to see what 16 times 5 is. So I'm going to do 16 times 5. 6 times 5 is going to be 30. And then I'm going to regroup the 3. 5 times 1 is going to be 5, plus 3 is going to be 80. So it's going to go into, 16 is going to go into 84 5 times. 16 times 5 is 80. So I write that underneath. I subtract. I have 4. I'm going to bring down my 8. And I'm looking at how many times 16 goes into 48. 16 is going to go into 48 3 times. I'm going to double check this. So 3 times 6 is going to be 18. I'm going to regroup the 1. 3 times 1 is 1, plus 1 is 4 for 48. So it's going to go in there 3 times. I'm going to write the 3 up above. 16 times 3 is 48. And then I'm going to subtract. So really the big thing that I'm looking at is I'm just starting to work with larger numbers, but the standard algorithm stays the same. I go ahead and I bring my decimal up, and then I look at how many times 16 is going to go into each digit, or how many times the divisor is going to go into the dividend. All right, so let's go ahead and move into your guided practice. So if we take a look at your guided practice, number 1 says, where is 5 and 3/10 shown on the diagram? So if we go back and we look at your picture in your example on the previous page, 5 3/10 is going to be shown in that first box. So it's going to be, the width is going to be marked as 5 3/10. Okay, so that's what we found. Alrighty. And then the next one that we have, it says, how can you check to see that the quotient 5 3/10 is reasonable? So when we talk about reasonableness, we are talking about estimation. So I can estimate see what my original problem was. I can estimate 84 and 8 feet squared divided by 16 and compare 5 3/10 to the estimate. So if I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take 84 and 8/10 and I'm going to just go ahead and actually I'm going to start over here with 16. I'm going to take 16, I'm going to round that to 15 because I know my 15 facts pretty well. And a fact of 15 that's near 84 is going to be 90. And so when I do 90 divided by 15, I end up with 6. 6 is pretty close to 5 3/10 feet. So my answer is reasonable. Alrighty. If we take a look at number 3, so we're actually going to do some work with some division. So I'm going to take 49 and I'm going to divide that into 306 and 25 hundredths. So the first thing I need to do is I need to bring my decimal straight up. So the decimal is always the first thing I do when I divide decimals. I want to get rid of that decimal so I can treat it like regular division and use that algorithm that we learned in the previous topic. So I'm going to look at how many times 49 goes into 30. 49 does not go into 30. So I have to look at how many times 49 is going to go into 306. So I'm going to start by looking at my first digit, and then I'm going to look at the first two digits here. 4 is going to go into 30 about 7 times. So I'm going to try 49 times 7 and see what I get. So 7 times 9 is going to be 3 or 63. I'm going to put down the 3, regroup the 6. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 6 is going to be, let's see, plus 6 is 14, so it's going to be 343. That's too big, so I need to go down a math fact. So I'm going to do 49 times 6. 6 times 9 is 54, so I'm going to put down the 4. I'm going to regroup the 5. 6 times 4 is going to be 24, plus 4 is going to be 300. Let's see, 6 times 4 is 24, plus 5 is going to be 29. So that should work. So it's going to be 294. So I'm going to put 6 up here. I get 294. I'm going to subtract. And when I subtract, I am left with 2. I regroup. I'm left with 12. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring down the 2. And then I look at how many times 49 is going to go into 22. So I'm actually going to change this value a little bit. 49 is close to 50. And so I'm going to see how many times 50 can go into 12 or 5 can go into 12. So 5 is going to go into 12 about 2 times. So let's see what 49 times 2 is going to be. 9 times 2 is going to be 18. I'm going to regroup the 1. 2 times 4 is going to be 8. Plus 1 is going to be 9. I'm not going to be able to get another 49 in there. That's a fairly small value. So it's going to go in there twice. I'm left with 98. I'm going to subtract. And so I need to do some regrouping. So when I cross this out, 12 subtract 8 is going to be 4. 11 subtract 9 is going to be 2. My next step is going to be to bring down the 5. And so I need to look at how many times 49 is going to be able to go into 245. And so let's try 49 times 5 and see what we get. So 5 times 9 is going to be 45. So I'm going to put down the 5, regroup the 4. 5 times 4 is going to be 20, plus 4 is going to be 245. So it's going to go in there 5 times. 49 times 5 is 245. So I write it underneath the other 245, and I subtract, and I get 0 left over. So you can see this problem requires a little bit more work, a little bit more guess and check. I had to do a lot more guessing and checking than I did in the last 2 days' previous lessons because I'm working with a bigger value. Problem. Our next problem is going to be 14 and 4/10 divided by 15. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my decimal up, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. And now I look at how many times 15 goes into 14. It's 0 times. And so now I look at how many times 15 goes into 144. I'm going to go ahead and do my estimation and say, hey, 15, if I did 15 times 10, that's 150. That's too large. So I'm going to do 15 times 9 and see what I get. So when I do 15 times 9, 5 times 9 is going to be 45. So I put down the 5, I regroup the 4. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is going to be 13. So I get 135. So I'm going to write 135 underneath, and I'm going to write 9 up above that second 4, and then I'm going to subtract. So 14 subtract 5 is going to be 9. 3 subtract 3 is going to be 0. 1 subtract 1 is going to be 0. So because I've added the decimal, my rule that I have when I'm dividing decimals is I can add as many zeros as I want once I have that decimal in my quotient. So 15 is going to go into 90, if you remember from the last problem we did, 6 times. 15 times 6 is going to be 90. I'm going to subtract, and my answer is going to be 0. That I would like for you to go ahead and you're going to do 5 through 11 odd. So you're only going to worry about the odd problems on the front side. Math practice and problem solving, you're going to do problems 13, 18, and 19.